Hello and welcome back to The Buzz. I'm Baylie Barnes. Today I'm here with Colonel Len Loving from 5-Star Veterans Center. Len, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you.
Great. Can you tell me a little bit about 5-Star Veterans Center and what you guys do?
Sure. 5-Star Veterans Center is a secure home for veterans that are in need. We started about 5 years ago in a program where we focus primarily on post 9/11 veterans that are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. We've kind of morphed into a situation where we're dealing primarily with those who have post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. I don't know if you're familiar with those two issues, but post-traumatic stress is more of an emotional issue, where traumatic brain injury is really a real physical injury, which affects the frontal lobe of the brain and usually the short-term memory.
And do you guys help people to get over these things as well?
Yes, we do. We do. We have a very comprehensive on-campus mental health program with 2 mental health counselors that are certified nationally, and they have a very comprehensive program which deals with both individual counseling and also group counseling. The group counseling, they work with they work with stress management, they work with alcohol and drug management, and with anger management.
Do you cover just Jacksonville, or do you cover like Northeast Florida?
Well, right now we believe we're the only facility like this in the state of Florida. We do have residents, and we've got them that come from other states, Mississippi, from Tennessee, from Texas, that have heard about us somehow. Probably on the internet, because we do have a web page, and they look for that type of opportunity and that type of counseling that they can get on board right there without having to travel to get it.
And then how did you get involved with this organization?
Well, 5 years ago, the original owners of the facility, after they purchased the building, they needed a program. So they asked me to come on board, and they got me through. Actually, I was introduced to them through Representative Crenshaw's office. And we wrote the program, and then it came to the point where, because they were dealing with former military veterans, they wanted to have that military appeal. So they asked me if I'd stay on for 6 months. And then after 6 months, it was another 6 months. And then then they they gave the facility to a new board, and the new board said, "Would you please stay on a little bit longer?" And so it's been going on now for 5 years.
They just kind of kept you throughout the whole time.
Well, it is very, I enjoy it. I'd be lying if I didn't say that, because what we see and what we get when you get to watch somebody who comes to you with a tremendous severe background, and then working with them and then watch them walk out the building and back into independent living, it's very rewarding.
Definitely. So how many people do you think that you guys have affected throughout the community?
We average about 22 to 25 simply because of funding restrictions. Currently, we do not receive any money from the city or from the state. We get a little money from the VA through a housing program, but it's less than $60,000 a year right now. We're hoping that we will be able to improve that amount in the upcoming future. We've had a lot of support and a lot of help from Congresswoman Brown. I don't know if she's very active with veterans, and she's been very, very supportive of the veteran program that we have going.
So then for you guys to get funding, do you just rely on sponsors, volunteers?
We do use volunteers a lot. As a matter of fact, I have only one paid staff member, full-time staff member, and I have 3 part-time to include a cook. We do provide 3 meals a day for the residents, and we don't charge them for the meals. We get a lot of individual donations from Joe Q. Public in the $25, $50, sometimes $1,000 a quarter somebody will send to us every once in a while. But for the most part, it's that. Our mental health program right now is funded completely through Ms. Dolores Weaver's grant program through Community Foundation. She's been very gracious to us in that regard for the last 2 years, and it's been a godsend to the overall program. Our program at the center is called Passport to Independence, coming from at need to graduating, if you will, and going back into independent living. Part of that mental health program also is we do have outreach for veterans and active duty military that can use that mental health counseling program if they care to become involved.
And so the counseling program, that's separate from like the ability housing that you do as well?
Well, it's just the opposite. It's very blended into that. As a matter of fact, our mental health counselors actually have a say in who comes into the program and who doesn't.
What are some of those qualifications?
Well, we have a criteria. I'm sorry. We have a criteria for that where we want a veteran with to prove that he's a veteran, number one. So that's why the DD-214, the document that is a discharge document, we get that. We try to focus on veterans with honorable discharge, although we've made exceptions in the past because sometimes there's an oversight on issues that were administrative errors that are able to be corrected with the VA, and a person can go from a less than honorable discharge to a honorable discharge. So we work with them in that regard as well. We try to provide them the wraparound services of everything that they may need in order to get back on their feet, to include job counseling, to include helping them with resumes, helping them with job interview practices. And that's where the counselors with the mental health program blend in with everything else we're doing, because they can tell somebody, this particular individual you need to be a little leery of on going into certain areas, and not to suggest that he take a job with that may be a risk, high risk. So we work very hard with them and very much blend. As a matter of fact, the mental health people are in our staff meetings every week, and we usually go over, after the administrative stuff you do in staff meetings, we go over the individual, 3 or 4 of the individual residents' history and how they're progressing in the process. For instance, some people with post-traumatic stress, you don't want to walk up to them behind them if they don't know that you're coming. So you usually speak to somebody 3 or 4 steps before, if you're walking up. And sometimes that's a little hard to do when you're in the chase of day-to-day business. And every once in a while you'll make a mistake and it'll frighten somebody. And so those are the things that, by blending together with the mental health people, we're able to work through.
Great. So what is the best way for someone to contact you if they want to get involved and help you as a volunteer?
Well, thank you. We have a webpage, and it's www.5starveterancenter.org, and it explains everything in there, that from what the application is, how to apply online for residency, how to apply to have people who volunteer. Speaking of volunteers, let me tell you what I'd like to say about this. Yes. I'm a firm believer that if someone wants to volunteer, they need to come to the center first and see what we do to make sure that their skill sets they have will blend with what we're trying to do. The worst thing for a volunteer to do is to come to a place, be there, not feel enhanced when they leave, and then they get frustrated and then they never come back. So I'd rather have someone tell me, no, that's not really what I want to do, or somebody come in and say, yes, I really want to be part of that. For instance, I have a lady that's been with us now for about a year. She lives in the area. She does our reception desk on a volunteer basis, 6 days a week, from 8:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. And she's like a mother to these guys.
And she just takes care of everyone, and it's that passion and that.
Well, and see, we have a procedure where, for a lot of reasons, but to kind of keep control over who's in the building, we have a sign-out and sign-in sheet at the reception desk. And we want to know, because if there was a catastrophe, let's say there was and we do have fire drills. So we want to make sure we know that everyone in the building knows it's a fire drill and are accountable, and they go to their station outside of the building so we can make sure that everyone's accounted for.
Great. That's good. Thank you so much for being here, Len. And we will see you next time on the bus.